Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Tukul session. This is your host tonight, John Ngong, and I'm right here with the Jang. And it's always our pleasure to have you back in the Tukul. Like everybody, welcome back to the Tukul. And tonight, it's going to be a that special conversation with none other than Ade himself. Ade came here to the Tukul the other time, blew it up, and right here he's coming here back in the Tukul. So I hope it's going to be another that session where we get to talk to each other freely. This is a free space. We always say this is our own space. We talk to each other. So just to structure our conversation a bit, we'll have like a quick session, like talking to Ade, and then we'll open it up for all of you guys. And don't feel shy, man. Like talk to the Tukul here, talk to the people that will be listening to us. So not taking so much time. Let me say hi to Ade. Ade, how are you doing?
Hey Ngong, I'm good, man. How are you?
Welcome back to the Tukul, man.
Yeah, it's it always feels good, and everybody, welcome. I'm looking forward to like just having an engaging conversation with you guys.
Thank you so much. Actually, we always say this is like a tea conversation. And one of the reasons why Dijong and I do this thing online is that we don't even have budget for tea. So online is good. But literally, this is like tea conversation, family kind of gathering. So yeah. And that gives us the freedom right there to talk to each other. And maybe before we dive into the conversation, I would like to recognize that Stan Sancho is right here with us. Stan, good to have you in the Tukul tonight. How are you?
Thank you very much, team. I'm excited to be here, and I'm here to
Welcome
learn
back to the
and
Tukul.
contribution as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So hey, let's keep it rolling. Ade,
Yes.
am I allowed to cry?
Are you allowed to cry?
Yes. Or should I be allowed to cry in order for me to cry? Yeah.
First thing you did when you was born was cry.
Actually, that is a very, very important point right there. Usually, when the kid is born, the kid is delivered to the mom, maybe on that bed stretcher or in the ward. And one thing that the mother really looks up to is hearing the baby starting to cry.
Yeah.
If the baby doesn't cry, everybody will begin to be alarmed, like something is not right, right? Yeah. So then literally we begin this life crying. We enter this world crying. But then it seems like the crying begins to fade off, and it even goes to a certain level where it becomes tattoo. Where do we begin to lose it? Yeah.
That's basically, of course, like we are born and we are born like naturally engineered as the way we're supposed to be, like, and it's not even just being masculine or being feminine. We are definitely engineered with like a set of emotions, a set of feelings, intentions. All these kind of things are within. But then, of course, once you start to grow, you're ushered into a world. Of course, like you come in as a child, all you knew was crying. Like to communicate, you cry. To do what, you cry, and all of that. Then when you start to grow, sometimes that a shadow is cast upon that side of you, because like people will be like, oh, you're a boy, you shouldn't be crying, you can't cry, you can't do this, you're a man. You basically, they start having all of this kind of it's either you're being trolled, or it's either there's some sort of negative stereotype or negative standard that is set by a group of people to say this is the standard man and this is how a standard man is supposed to be. So like, of course, you'll put a shadow on that side, that emotional side of yours, and then you sort of like detach your emotion. So like if you feel like you want to cry, you won't do it, because it's either you're in the bandwagon of I want to be a man, or like you're in the bandwagon of like you're going to be judged for doing that. So like we start to lose it at that very stage once we don't once we give in. That's why I say that most of these traits, or like most of these rules that are around masculinity, basically cannot thrive if all of us don't follow the rules. You see? But then
right.
but if everybody follow, these are unwritten rules or like unwritten traits that we need to, or like characters that a man is supposed to, like some roles and all of that. But who decides when I should cry, or who decides whether I should show my emotions or not?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So basically,
yeah, go ahead, Ade.
So basically that's just where we start to lose it, because now we are getting detached from like that emotional side of ours that we're born with and all of that.
Yeah. And I want to believe, maybe Ade, you have the technical perspective to this, but I want to believe that crying in itself is a biological function. Like maybe there's some biochemical reaction happening in me, and then I generate a certain level of tension within me, and maybe my eyes become the outlet of the tension that is happening within me. So as a biological function, if that's the case, men and women would equally cry, right? Because we have the same setup. Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
Even the Bible says Jesus wept, right?
Yes. Several times.
Several times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So the weeping part there. Actually, what is crying in itself? Why do people cry?
What and you see, now that is the thing. Like once we understand, like there are people who will feel or who will have a certain kind of emotion that they want to let out, and to so many, like it's just tears. I'll just give an example. Like me myself, I like using myself a very good example. Like let's say when I lost my mom, I was right there, and then she took her last breath, but there was no tears like flowing down my eyes, but I was deeply crying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just there, you're a state of shock until now. Once you start to release, of course, like it's all tension. Being able to accept a certain feeling and feel the emotion, like you embracing the emotion. To me, that's sort of like crying to me. Like it's I have a certain emotion or a certain feeling inside me that needs to come out, but I'm fighting to let it out. But if I just let it out just freely, like, okay, I'm going to feel this. Is it something I can change? And then I will accept it. Then probably if crying will give me sort of clarity, at least on my side, it will sort of like give me clarity at the end, because I have felt the emotion. And now my mind is sort of like open to like all sorts of solutions or whatever. So it's it's just around there.
Yeah, okay. So we've seen it from the biological setup of each one of us. But now you talked earlier about the learning that we acquired on the way, and how crying becomes something that is not acceptable to some people, maybe at certain age. And but basically we don't have biological proof that men should not cry, right? Basically that's what we have said earlier. Okay, so now coming to the context that we are in here, basically the society that we live in, call it South Sudan in this case, or even wider, or a bit smaller. Where do we get this censorship from? Like, men should not cry. This is what I've heard and seen all around. Do you have experiences around that?
Look, this let's not even like just narrow it down to like a simple thing of us crying. It's completely all vulnerability. Like vulnerability, like just being able to be vulnerable as a man, basically has always been seen like it's a sign of weakness, or it's a sign of like, don't be a woman, or like don't be that, and all of that. So where all of that comes from, of course, it's our society. At the end of the day, it comes back to us. Like it's like a point I made early on where I'm saying it's all these stereotypes around, like as long as we can still like Ngong right now, it, it's something that has been normalized. Like if I can look at a brother and I can show like genuine affection without having to have a sexual mind. Like I can tell you, Ngong, I love you without adding that no homo. Like why does that have to be? You know what I mean? That's an emotional. Yeah, you see, like vulnerability there. Like I'm showing sensitivity. I'm trying to, but then why does it always have to like? Why do we have to put like a disclaimer? It's a genuine emotion, but then we do that because somebody is probably going to say, "Oh, that's gay." You know what I mean? Or like that's this, and that's a stereotype for women. You see, and that's what like the society has already said. Like we cannot be emotionally attaching ourselves. Like I can speak about how I love my woman, and I like in a way that is completely vulnerable, and guys will look at me and be like, okay, man, you're just being like soft, or you're being this, you know what I mean? Like, so it becomes crazy. It becomes, and that's what people starts to call toxic, which I don't like to use. Like when people say like toxic masculinity and all of that, but like that's what they start to call toxic now, because these are traits that we are creating ourselves. Like we're making ourselves feel like we can't be vulnerable. We can't emotionally attach ourselves to our fellow male, or like our fellow folks, like girls who are like friends to us and all of that, without having to have some sexual connotation to it, or like some sort of like you lose some masculinity points or something if you if you become vulnerable.
Okay. When does it go to the point of real men don't cry a day? This is something we hear in our streets all the time, right? Yeah. So the real man, if a man cries, is it not real?
No, that's actually it's a thing. It's something we see every day, because if you now like you have a lot of emotional baggage, like your father, and you have a wife and all of that, and maybe kids and all of that, and then there's all of these things that are bothering you, or like a lot of responsibilities, or a lot of things on your back, basically. And then you're going to take all that emotional baggage and keep it inside you, you know what I mean? Because of course, it's already been said that men, this is your responsibility. This is a role, you know what I mean? It's a role, and you need to take it in. You should not show a sign of weakness. You should not show that you can't manage, or like you can take on all of this, and then you start to bottom all that, all these things in, and then that's why you find there's a lot of bottled up feelings and emotions inside. But then you have to stay strong, and it's not by choice. It's what has been said. It's like what society has made everybody believe, basically. And our parents have put us through that same thing. Like, and I wouldn't blame them, because that was them. That's how they were raised too at that very moment, or at that time too. So they're just like passing it on, because that's all they know. And that's where I say that, like, we need to have sort of like clarity, like it's okay, like it's okay. I mean, like, who says real men don't cry? Like at the end of the day, who makes these rules? Like who knows your emotions, or who knows how you feel, basically, and what makes you less real, or like what makes you less of a man? It's crazy.
Now, talking of okay to cry, actually, I would want to ask this question differently. Like, what would happen if men don't cry? What would really happen if men don't cry?
There would be very less of aggression. There will be some sort of peace, like inner peace, basically, like as a person. Me, this is more individual than anything. It's then, and there's a very big psychological effect actually to even crying. Crying is letting go. So like it's in itself is already a therapeutic way of you letting go or certain emotions. So what would happen is you find peace in yourself and get some sort of clarity. And that is the most important thing in this whole thing called life, like having clarity, recognizing an emotion, feeling it, and moving on to the next instead of being stagnant. Things like depression or whatever, and all of these kind of things, they will not like you, there will be less of suicides and all of that. Like, and it's not just even crying, it's crying and talking about it, which
Oh
all
yeah.
this, it's that vulnerability at the end of the day, like what I was saying. So if you are able, if you are willing to recognize an emotion is bad and you cry over it, and then you seek clarity by like talking to someone about it, because
Yeah.
you will freely talk to someone about it after you've already created, like, or you've already bended a lot of possibilities of you ending up really bad, or even like ending your own life if the problems are really intense. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if I'm tensed up and I begin to cry, I'm doing good job to my body, right? Like even to my eyes, the muscles that are around my eyelids, I'm relaxing them. Is that what's happening?
Totally.
Okay.
And even like your chest too. Like if
Yeah.
you feel sometimes there's like when there's too much tension, or like there's a lot of anger inside you and all of that, you feel a certain compressed, like your chest becomes really super compressed. But then when you cry, you can't even breathe perfectly. You feel like it is losing, like it was
Okay.
tightening, but then it's loosening basically. Yeah.
And there is this experience that day, like if okay, like take me back now to the time when I was a boy, like 10 years, 11
Yeah.
years. If I go to the
Yeah.
neighborhood and I have
Yeah.
like a fight, right, with some boy in the
Yeah.
neighborhood, and he beats me
Yeah.
and I cry,
Yeah.
actually the
Yeah.
memory of me, or the fact that I cried when that boy beat me, or even if it's somebody else, like an
Yeah.
adult, and the person beating me and I cry later makes me so much like feel so bad about myself. Why did I even cry? You know, is
Yeah.
there a way we can
Yeah.
strike a middle ground here so that if I'm beaten, I don't cry, so that next time I don't feel bad? How do we balance the two?
And you see that, do you know why you feel bad though? Like, do you know why you feel bad? You feel bad because you care about like what they're going to say about you. You know what they're going to say about you. Like,
Yes.
that's that already, it's already because you know there's a standard, like there's a standard they've also, and once I do this now,
Yeah.
they're gonna say something about me, and that's going to make me feel some type of way, or like it's going to make me feel less of myself basically, or they might see me less of myself. And you see that all starts with like believing the standard, or like believing the stereotype basically. Yeah.
Wow. And then also I twist it a bit. Look, I have my younger brother also, who is a boy, goes to the neighborhood, gets beaten by another person or even lady. He comes back crying, and I'll be like, who beat you? Oh, somebody your age. Or maybe some girl in the neighborhood beat the boy. And I'll be like, what? You cried because you're beaten
Why
by
would a
that girl, or
woman
you're
beat
beaten by
you?
your age mate? Shut up right now, or I beat you further. Check that. What am I doing to this little kid?
you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that still comes back to like the whole point again. Like why does it have to be a must that every single man has to be stronger than a woman? Like like why does that? Because they'll beat him here again because they say you're a boy, you can't be beaten by a girl.
Yes.
But
wow.
Can the girl really beat you though? Like, if she, like, you see, like, yeah, I mean, like most of the time, it's we don't see the logical part of all of it, but like it's something we have integrated. Like it goes really deep. It goes really deep. It's not even just something on the surface, basically. Like, and it would take time, or like it takes time for us to even understand that.
Yeah. And sometimes maybe it actually becomes like it's expected that maybe if something bad happens, let us say maybe a family member passes on, and one member of the family doesn't cry, people be like, what? Like, why this person, like, does he know what kills the deceased and something like that? So sometimes and sometimes maybe somebody might just want to to maybe control emotions, and then people would expect you to cry, so you cry again. And sometimes they expect not to cry, you don't cry. You know,
It's
it's mismatch all the time, right?
it's a very complicated cycle.
Okay, so when do
that's where
we
you
know
get
that it is time to cry and not to cry, as a man in this case?
Again, I'll make it more personal again. Like to me, when I know, like, when the emotions or like whatever I'm feeling at that very moment, like let's say it all comes up to like an emotional baggage, or like it's your stress adding up, or like there are certain things that are out of your control, like usually, especially like when I say this is something that is completely out of my control and it's really bothering me, and it's not something I can do anything about. So I'm gonna cry because that's the emotion I want to feel at that very moment. Like, I have no any other option, basically. So like that's all I could do. So that to me, I feel it's okay. It's okay at that point, like for any man to cry, because that's like you're back against the wall now. Like it's
okay. Yeah, but man, it's still a hard thing for me to imagine. Like I lose it, man. And then I begin to cry. Then 2 days later, I think, shit, I cried. I'm struggling with this right now. That thought alone is still bothering me, right?
Like just the thought that you cried over something, even though nobody saw you, and you feel uncomfortable about that.
Unless it's a good thing. People also cry for good reasons, right? Like if something good happens, they need to cry all of a sudden. People cry during the 9th July here in South Sudan. People literally cried, even people older than us, right? Yeah.
So why isn't it normalized? Why? I'm like, so that's why I asked, like, why isn't it really normalized? I feel like it's a bit hypocritical. Like if I'm emotional and I cry, it's a problem. Or maybe sometimes if maybe I want something, I'm very excited and cry, people are actually going to be like, oh, look at that. Like, I kind of feel it's hypocritical because both ways I'm putting out an emotion, letting out a certain kind of feeling.
Okay. Thank you, Ade. I think one of the things actually that has been coming in the introduction so far is that, like, we have social blocks that stop people, certain category of people, let's say men in this case, from actually crying. And by the way, sometimes if I begin just like I am bothered by something and I cry, again bothered by something and I cry, people in my community might even compose songs against me and be like, oh, this guy is always crying all the time, and I have like songs going against me, man. That would make me cry again some more. It's a cycle, right?
It's a cycle, literally.
I don't know whether I would have a personal strategy to overcome this. Will I just lose it? I don't know.
Again, I feel like you just need to. It always coming back to like accepting your emotions. Really, like sometimes not even there is this thing I was still most of my friends, I think we even talked about this before, like, no, you're demon by name, like, or like, no, you're demon by name, like demon, like in my book, like I was cross it demon, I was replacing like problems, basically. Like, so like you being able to know like what is bothering you and all of that, like understand it, like, and understand it. And at that point, like, you will always know what is completely out of your hand and what you can do, like, at that very moment, because I feel it's very important always.
Wow,
it's always very important.
Actually, talking of your book there, Ade, I saw something on social media. I can't confirm yet. Is something coming up around the topic that we are talking about?
Nah, I mean, my book it's out already.
Okay.
Mankind, it's already out. It's a very beautiful book. If I'm allowed to say that, like, I love it.
Absolutely, man.
Because it's those emotions, you know what I mean? Like those countless times. The book is only 4 chapters, and the first chapter of it is Cry Baby, which is basically representing the whole idea that when we are born, first thing we do is cry. And then I'm making it more personal. Like my mom always told me growing up that you used to cry a lot as a child and all of that. Like, so that was my phase. But then now the second chapter of the book is Bottled Tears. So Bottled Tears, it's me now growing up into this adolescent. I'm in high school or like and all of this and now there's a standard of what masculinity is inside the school or like inside the I became now a product of my environment basically. So like I had to fit into the society, like into I can do that when my mom is, but I can do this like in public because I'm gonna be seen less of me or like and all of that. So I bottled up all sorts of tears. But then now we're now the stage, which is the third chapter of the book, which is spill. Spill is the state where like you feel this is too much on you, like it's weighing you down and it's a lot, and you need to accept to let it out, and then that is where you spill. Like one of the poems that you find is fuck, I knocked over my bottle of tears. So basically, like you now spill, and once you spill all that out, you will have some sort of clarity. And then that's my chapter 4 now, which is you clean it up. Which is clean it up. And cleaning up is you now knowing your demon by name. Like you will know exactly what to do at that point. And then so basically that is how I ship If Men Cry. It's a short poetry and it's in a diary form. And the most beautiful thing about it is I'm actually letting people write inside the book, like inside the poem. So like once you buy the book, there's a lot of space like in the chapter, in the pages where you can scribble with like a pen or whatever, or like a pencil. In just whatever poem that you read, and it sort of like resonates with you and it sparks or something or a thought or whatever. You don't have to rush for a notebook or whatever. Just write inside those pages, like you're personalizing the book basically. And then that's why the cover looks like a diary or like pages of the book basically. So that is If Men Cry.
So beautiful right there, man. I can't wait to read this book, man. I want to read when you are there, man, so that when something hits me, I just begin to cry and be like, hey, I'm right here crying right now. Wow, thank you.
I'll let it out.
Man, thank you for authorizing us to cry, man. I think the men in the room here, you guys have the official authorization from Ade. You guys can cry right now.
You authorize yourself. That's what like. You should be able to authorize yourself to cry. You should like tell yourself.
That's good.
You look in the mirror.
Oh wow! Thank you, Ade. That's really interesting right there. And wow, what a conversation we have tonight. And maybe I will open it up. Ade, at this point, we also hear from our like the members in the room right now. I'm seeing the chat. Maybe I'll run quickly through the chat. And getting first thing from Sidonia. This is like the stories we have been told. I think this is in line with the social censorship that we talked about before. And Akim Akwaji is recommending a book. Maybe we'll give him a mic later to talk more about this. Recommending a book to everyone in the Tukul. It's called Trauma Proving Your Kids. This is by Peter Levine. And then so maybe Akim will say more about that. And Mawood is saying, hey, I hope the book If Men Cried is going to be user friendly. Okay, friendly to the readers in that case. And we also have we have Elisa here. Elisa is saying it doesn't matter whether you're woman or man. At the end of the day, crying is a result of an emotion. You cannot control that. Can't even try to manage it. And if some cultures don't allow men to cry, there's nothing shameful about that. They shouldn't forget that they are human too, and it's normal to cry. Therapeutic, like this is therapy to your own self. I'm gonna cry some more. And then we have Stan. Stan is logging in all the way from Johannesburg, and he's saying, I would love a copy of the book. I think this is the new book. Please. How do I get this? Maybe Ade, we have the Tukul community. So on WhatsApp, you can share the link, the Amazon link, and then we'll forward that to Stan. Or if you have it right now, just don't want to bother you because I know you're holding your mic right there. You could also share in the chat here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some more jokes like it's coming from Sudan, I guess. Please don't spill it. Right here. Like don't begin to cry. Yeah, I can cry. You people. Okay. So thank you guys for keeping it active also in the chat. It has been good also in the chat. And thank you, Ade, for the nice overview right there. Let me open it up to the room. And I see the first turn is coming from Stan.
Yeah.
Stan, take it over. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, team. Thank you very much for this exciting topic, and thank you to Ade for the lovely background. I think what has happened to me is that I never cry, not because I was told not to cry, but
Okay.
because of the environment in which I was raised. I was raised mainly with my siblings, and my parents were working away from us, and they only came sometime. So we learned to develop a defensive mechanism in us because we depended on ourselves. To when we had a fight in the streets, it was only about us. So I think from then on, we taught ourselves not to cry. And I think it went for a long time that even when my brother and sister passed in an accident that I was involved in,
Oh,
that
sorry.
that I was not crying, and instead I was looking to get them to a safe resting place, even beyond life. So even now, for me, crying is the um, uh, not necessarily a difficult thing, but then it's like there's no need. But then my cry, so I don't cry tears, but then there's a cry. So, and the crying that I do is to consult with other people, is
Right.
to open up verbally with other people to say, this is what I'm feeling, is to seek counseling, but not necessarily to cry the way perhaps Ade is explaining it, where tears are bottled and then they have to be spilled. So I think for me, it is spilled in a form of words, in a form of opening up my emotions. And then
Right.
that is where then I find comfort afterwards. So I think perhaps then the when we say men should cry, we should also say men, where you feel you are embarrassing yourself by crying the tears
Yeah.
of tears. What we are saying is that don't sit with emotions that are burning inside of you.
Right.
Open it up to a friend, open it up to a colleague, open it up to Tukul, so that we can talk about it and we can find answers, because those emotions can lead to stress, they can lead to suicide,
Right.
they can lead to you killing your own family because you think there's no solution. So I think there is more than one way of crying, and I think we have to explore that, and I think we have to list those different kind of crying so that people can cry in their own way
Right.
and as comfortably as possible. But then what we should emphasize is that we must cry because it is part and parcel of us as human beings. So thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Stan. And that's a good perspective there, actually. And yeah, maybe again, because of the experiences, I think maybe our personal experiences
Yeah.
also share how we approach this. Yeah, yeah. Maybe Ade, would you like
Yeah.
to say a comment to that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm going to give the mic to Akim and General D after that. But Ade, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like how he's. It takes me back to what we were just saying on, like it all comes back to vulnerability at the end of the day. It should
Right.
be okay for you to feel vulnerable, and vulnerability stretches out to you being open to speak up to a friend, to a brother, or like to just somebody there. And speaking up is not just speaking, like it's not everybody that listens at the end of the day. So like it's also important to recognize that who are those that will listen to you basically,
Right.
like would they make it worse, would they yeah. So I totally understand what he's saying, and it's very beautiful to explore like what is very comfortable with you, because some people might not want to let the tears out, but then like they want to talk about it, and it's very important to know what is comfortable with the person. Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much. And okay, I'll give the mic to Akim now. Akim, would you like to take it?
Thank you so much, John. And wow, man, Ade, whoa, bro, that is some crazy stuff going on. Mad respect, honestly, like honestly. I've always obviously like we've had serious conversations, like deep conversations in our own zones. But like I completely get I agree to what you're saying. I also wanted to add to being emotionally expressive and being emotional. You get?
So,
Yes.
So these are totally two different things.
Yes.
Because in our society, expressing, for example, men, like it's quite hard for us to. I won't even say it's hard. It's quite like the way we've been conditioned since we were young.
Yeah.
It makes it seem like it's almost a taboo or a sin to express our emotions, not just crying. Like almost anything that goes that is in contrary to the social being or the social contract that we have as people, as a society. So I'm totally up and excited to read about it. And I'm so proud of you, man, honestly. Like, you've come a long way. Like, I just give you mad props. The second thing I want to talk about is this book that I just wrote here. Like, it's called Trauma Proofing Your Kids.
Trauma Proofing.
Yeah, Trauma Proofing Your Kids. So it's basically, as you said, I got this point before when you're talking. You talked about we all have our own emotional baggage that we come from, that it comes from our own lineage, like our own fathers, our great grandfathers. So everyone has their own baggage, right? Is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
So what this book does is it makes you break that generational baggage or that emotional baggage that you've carried for generations. Okay. You might think you don't have it, but in reality you have it. So instead of having kids, obviously there's still a remedy even for those who already have kids. But before you have it, like reading this book, it breaks this emotional baggage. It helps you handle your own bullshit or your own issues before you transfer them to your kids. So I totally recommend this book. Yeah.
Wow.
But once again,
I'll definitely look it up. Or like, do you have like a link you could just post in or something?
Yeah, I can post it.
Okay, that would be awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so you'll enjoy. But once again, man, congratulations.
Thank you, Kim.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for your input. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll give it to Geraldine. Gerald, would you like to take it up?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Yep.
Welcome.
I'm right here now. Thank you very much, Ade. Let me begin with congrats, man. Yeah, that's another milestone right there. And again, you've gone on a topic that most people tend to shy away from. Started with the how do you call it, the lemonade? Feel like calling it lemonade. Yeah, and then came in with the stranded lullabies. Yeah, different perspectives, and I like how you get into them. Yeah, really hard, and with those insights. On this particular one, coming in as a discussion, but not as a reaction to your book. I have a different outlook though, and I tend to look at the notion of men not crying, not within the eyes or the lenses of our current society, but within the origins and the root emanation of it within the old cultures and within the setup of that particular time. And this brings me to to what it was like and what the position was. And you find that the language of all time was majorly metaphorical, and you know they were often using similes and symbolic language. And when they say that men should not cry, I do not take it literally as bottling up emotions or or literally letting go of tears. I do not see it as such. I look at it at the perspective of they saying it as a way of not letting things go, and not on sort of a bad way, but again looking at the society of that particular time, because we say this is something that has been passed on from generation to generation. We come from a background of a society that was dealing with hard things and with conflict, with disagreements, and oftentimes it was upon the male child or the male heirs of that particular society to put that society together and to ensure its continuity. And these men living the standards, putting together everything that the society held, the norms, the cultures, and the values, and not letting them go. So this is sort of saying to the young man or the young gentleman that is on the verge of coming up, the boy, that there are things that we hold as a society. Do not let them go. And we've seen scenarios where if women are married, they go and adapt the cultures of the particular people that they are married to. So they are telling the young man that don't, once you become someone, once you get into a certain situation, don't let go. If you are found by hardship, let's say things are becoming difficult, your life doesn't seem to have a direction, don't let go of whatsoever it is that you are fighting for, of whatsoever it is that you believe in, don't let it go. So it's a call for not letting go, but rather not a call of not letting the tears go. Because you still find even these old men, they cry when somebody dies who might have been dear to them, they weep. That's totally different. Weeping is different from the cry. So I'd like to look at it metaphorically by taking in the definition that it was more of reminding the person that it doesn't matter whatsoever circumstance you are under in, don't succumb to the pressure. Just be strong and keep your head up. And I think even where we are right now, we should even embrace it, because it's reminding us that tears are equated to letting go. Once you cry, it means that you've washed away the pain, isn't it? That you've relieved yourself. Well, that is the what can be equated to tears. So if we say that men cry or everyone cry, we are literally telling them that shed off whatsoever it is that was hurting you. And it could be that what is hurting you is something that is what you wanted to make yourself with. And if you let it go, it means you've let go of yourself. Let's say a culture, let's say a sort of integrity, a virtue that you held so dear that is costing you. If you cry, which means letting go, if you let it go, then you've lost yourself. So it's not about shedding the tears or not about opening up, because one, and I think it's something you might have come across when you are doing your mental health tours, that our society was founded on the principles of openness, that you find elderly people seated around and they are discussing issues. Old women seated in their circles discussing issues. And you find it is in those circles that they open up to one another. Somebody will talk of maybe a troublesome wife, a challenging economy on their side. They used to open up to these things. They used to discuss them openly. So the aspect of man letting go of their ego, their pride, stuff like that, their vulnerability, it was there. But what they wanted to say is, don't let go of your virtue. Don't let go of yourself. Don't lose yourself in the moment of people
Right.
where things become so harder. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, D. I think maybe you give it back to Ade to react quickly to your perspective. Ade, then we go to the next participant. Yeah, maybe shortly, Ade. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love everything that he said. It's been there, it's existed and stuff, and I totally don't even like. This is and I feel this is where the problem is coming in, and everybody who's already like looked at the book, it's already betting on the same thing. It's not even about how literal it is about the man being able to cry. It's the whole sense or the whole aspect of this masculinity that we're talking about, even like going back to our communities and all of that. It's just that aspect of vulnerability, that aspect of being able to open up. And I think Stan actually brought that up early on, like as a way. But now I'm looking at it right now. How is it understood? How do we take it now? How are the young people taking it now? Like, how are we accepting it as us? Are we looking at it like the way Dee says, like it's this goes all the way, or like are we literally looking at it from what we've been shown in the movies, or like what a standard man is, or like what we see every single day, or like that shadow that is cast of it? What is the narrative right now? And that is, and I feel that is where the emphasis has to be, and because many of the people are taking up the narrative that people are working on right now, like the narrative everybody has accepted. So I think it's very important to accept how far this comes from, and it's also very good to.
Yes, Ade, am I losing you?
Be vulnerable. It doesn't say that men shouldn't. And the use of vulnerability here is what actually brings in the whole notion of men not crying in the first place, because you want to stay strong. So it becomes a stay strong, your head up high without losing yourself. At the end of the day, also portraying elements of vulnerability. So it's a kind of self-contradiction. And if we get to tell the young man, if we get to tell the society that a man doesn't have to literally show weakness, a woman doesn't have to show weakness in order to appear like they are self-relieved, they are mentally stable now, they have accepted themselves, and then this notion of men not crying will make more sense. But so long as we are preaching that you can be vulnerable, you can even go seek psychosocial support in extreme cases. This is why we see that there are high cases of mental illnesses being reported on daily basis. 7 out of 10 mad people every day on the streets are men, because we've reached to an extent where masculinity has been misunderstood, and man has not transformed to the new setup of society that requires you to lose yourself, to accept yourself as a failure. Because some of the things we preach sometimes is it's okay to fail, it's okay to do this. It's not okay. And this is where the kind of jargons like men don't cry were coming in. Like it's telling you don't lose yourself. But if we come in and say lose yourself, and it's okay to open up and show that you're vulnerable, then it's self-contradicting, to say the least. We can build a society that is strong based on principles of vulnerability.
Hey D, maybe sorry for the interruption. I had lost the connection literally to the room. I just came back, and I don't know how it has been flowing in the last few seconds. But yeah, maybe we will try to keep it a little bit
Can I come in for
close.
a second?
Yes, exactly. So I was like, let me give it to the next participant, and then we get back to our guest speakers already. Yeah. So maybe Sidonia, you raised your hand earlier. Take it on. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, like I'm gonna try to be brief, but sometimes I talk a lot. Good evening, everyone. This film
Yeah, go ahead.
First, I would thank you so much. It was insightful, and for you guys are not hearing me, I'm talking.
Yeah, I'm getting you.
Yes, we hear you.
Hello?
Donna.
You are being here.
We hear you perfect.
Are you guys getting me or not?
We are.
Perfectly.
We are getting
Okay.
you, please.
I would say first and foremost, thanks to Adele for the insightful talk tonight, and also congratulations for your new book. I would like to come in a little bit in the perspective of D. D, what I want to say is that I don't think that when we say that men should not cry, we are literally saying that they should throw themselves out there and be as vulnerable as they could. I think we're just telling them that throughout your journey, in whatever dreams or desires that you want to pursue, it is okay to sometimes sit down, take a break down, pull yourself together, and get back to the road and get to do it. We are not saying that you should stop. If you are climbing a mountain, you should reach somewhere and you feel like, no, I'm tired, I can't do this. And then you sit down and you cry and you fall back and you don't do it. No, I think it's more or less to say that you can always take a break, understand your feeling, and get on again. I think we wouldn't accept weaker men if that's what you're planning to do. We just want you to accept that you can sometimes break down and continue to take on the journey. And also in perspective of days like men should cry. Okay, men are being told that they should be able to cry and, let themselves out there. What about the society? Are we telling people that it is okay for men to cry? Because if even right now in this age, we still tell young boys that do not cry, you're a man, we still tell them. And we are telling them the same stories that we were told. So I don't know how much we are changing this. We are coming here, we tell you as men that it is okay for you to cry, but at home we unconsciously tell our young little boys that, why are you crying? Don't cry, you're a man, So I don't know how we're going to go about this. I'm stopping from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sidonia. Maybe Ade, back to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, she has a point, and she's already said almost everything. It's just being able, like, we do it unconsciously every single day. Like, we create a shadow for all these kids, and once a child has come home and cried over something, we'll be like, no, you should not cry. Like, why don't you want them to? Like, I mean, like, they just felt, so it's totally okay. She has a point, and it's a beautiful discussion, really. It's been a beautiful discussion.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Then I have one more hand from a Jan. Dio.
Ngong. Thank you for the chance, and to Ade, congratulations on your new book. It's okay. I'd like to take in General D's and Stein's perspective on this. Like, men cry. We all know what emotions do to us. Once you let emotions overshadow you, we know how badly it breaks us, and to what level it takes us. And again, the society back then doesn't say a man shouldn't cry. They say a man should not cry simply because they do not want you, or they do not want your emotions to overshadow your being, or to let you give up, like General D said earlier. Yeah. Coming to what Sidonia just said, yeah, men cried back then. Like, who could go to somebody's heart and look at them like, hey, you're crying? No. Somebody sits back and starts crying. You complaining, first of all, like Ade said earlier, you could find somebody you trust and talk to, let out your emotions. That in itself is crying. You personally, I have a book, a secret book actually, that I write down my emotions. I've never shared it with anyone because I do not feel comfortable sharing my emotions. So me pouring out my heart, my emotions on that book is crying in itself. So Ade said earlier, he's not taking it literally as crying, but what if men just cried? Like, it could be you writing down your tears. It could be you finding someone you talk to and let out your emotions. It could be you actually crying, like taking that break and cry, like Sidonia just said.
Right.
So
Thank you.
that is
Thank you,
what I
Tia.
wanted to say.
So beautiful right there. I see one more hand coming back from Akim. Akim, take it on.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I mean, Ajang has put it so beautiful.
Yes.
I also want to talk about how well the doubts, what the doubts that have been cast about. Well, crying is not really a thing that makes you better or makes you more happy or anything. I feel like if there's any research or any evidence-based kind of document that shows, well, this is definitely, I don't know whether this exists, that the number of men that when they started crying or being emotionally more expressive than they were, how it's improved their lives in a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Because without that, I don't think it's going to take longer for people to be able to adopt this kind of emotions. Or for what was it Sidonia? We were saying that children are told not to cry in the house. We can talk about this, but in the house, like when it comes to real life, parents will still tell you don't cry. Your father will tell you don't cry because you're a boy or because you're a man. Again, so I feel like there's need for an external or a broader way of looking at this,
right?
Like to have some kind of an evidence or to show that, well, guys, this is what happened to these people or to these men when they started being more emotionally expressive, crying. So you see how like people get aware, like when there's evidence, then that's how you see behavior change.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
That's beautiful there, Kim, man. Like talking like professor, man. Ade, when are we going to have this evidence? Where do we get it?
You see now, I mean, that's totally, it's something totally necessary for people. But in this instance, I'm really writing as a poet, and I'm writing my emotions basically, and the only evidence to my emotions usually it's always how I feel about them, and it's inside the book basically. Yeah. So this whole discussion, like us coming up with it, basically, it's based on that, on like what we see, how we feel, how I feel, how people around me feel. Discussions I have with like friends around me, like men around me, and all of that. But of course, it's something that needs a potential to go really wide. It needs to be talked about like on a very larger scale. But like, yeah, totally, I agree to him, man.
Okay. Hey, thank you guys. It has been a wonderful night for us in the Tukul here. Maybe I think we come into to the top of the hour, like where we want really to hold the conversation a bit because I say it's getting interesting all over. But from the Tukul community, we would say congratulations for the new book, and we really look forward to like what would happen if men really begin to cry. Like, okay, not wail. It's not okay to wail because if you can scare people, like if I'm the head of my family and something hits us and I begin to wail, that I think that would scare the whole family and then everyone will lose it. Yeah, so it's not okay to wail. Like in my perspective, but the aspect of crying and the biochemical relief that I get out of that and the therapy that comes with it, I'm going for that, man. Yeah. So Ade, maybe would you like to wrap it up for us because we'll be giving it a close in a few. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, what it's I've just got to like use your platform so you guys can go get my book. It's by tomorrow it will be distributed in different supermarkets in Juba. So like it can be got did a lot of merchandises too. Comes a lot like poems are printed on t-shirts, like wall frames and all of that. Okay. And first time early on, I'll send you the link. It's on Amazon. You can get a Kindle version, a paperback, or a hardcover. It will be delivered to you anywhere that you are. And you guys can also follow my socials for like more stuff that are coming up, which is Added the Truth in or Facebook, Twitter, Insta. And thank you. It's been a really good conversation. Just one thing that I'm going to leave with everybody else, and my mom has told me this so many times, is it's not a sign of weakness to really feel vulnerable. It does not make you less of a man, really. Like It's an emotion, and it's okay to feel. It's okay to feel that emotion. You have yourselves a good night, and thank you again, Ngong, man.
Wow. Thank you, Ade. And actually, thank you very much for finding the time to be with us in the Tukul for the second time. Of all the speakers that we have had here, you like here for the second time, man. So we really appreciate that. We're not taking it for granted. And for the members here in the Tukul, thank you very much. You've been consistent, and this has been our home every Saturday. So we're going to have another conversation on next Saturday, and same time. Yeah, so please, yeah, we really appreciate your time. Maybe can I run quickly through the chat? One more thing that really came strongly from the chat here is that it's coming from Stan. Stan says we can tell young men at home not to cry all we want, right? But nature will tell them otherwise. And nature is, after all, in control. So let's keep crying. Let's also remember to smile as well, yeah? Not crying all the time. So I really like that. That's amazing right there. Yeah. So guys, once again, thank you very much for joining the Tukul. This is going to go to YouTube, and you can like our page also, so that you can directly get our input all the time. And it's going to be on our Tukul school page, also in the group, and our YouTube channel. So everyone, thank you very much. Have a good night. And Ade, we really appreciate your input, man. We'd like to have you back in the Tukul anytime soon.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night.